Welcome to Stab the Dragon Productions for National Bourbon Heritage Month, September 2025. During this month, I'll be focusing on studying bourbons. Coming to you from Fort Worth, Texas on Monday, September 1st, 2025, where it seems like fall has begun here. It's currently 87 degrees, and we had some light rain again this morning. Tonight, we're going to kick off Bourbon Month with Old Granddad Bottled in Bond bourbon. This is a bottled in bond, so it's at least 4 years old and 100 proof. The label says it's a high rye mash bill. This 750 milliliter bottle cost about $21 to $22 here in Fort Worth. And this whiskey is owned by the Jim Beam Company, which is owned by the Suntory Spirits Global International, whatever. Tasting notes. This bourbon has some corn sweetness to it, but a deeper, darker sweetness that is spicy coming from that high rye. I do get some peanuts or peanut brittle and a little bit of orange peel as well. And of course, some caramel. This is one of my absolute favorites. I've been through, this is at least my third bottle, maybe fourth. My score was a 90. And letter grade for drinkability, a solid A. Recommendation. For those who are a little bit sensitive to the harshness of bourbon, this one might not work for you. But if you do like bourbon, but not the super sweet ones like, say, Old Forester, Maker's Mark, Larceny, then I would say try Old Granddad because it's got that deeper, richer kind of a sweet, and it goes off in a different direction, which is in my wheelhouse. Its versatility at 100 proof is amazing because I like to sip it neat. It'll hold up under ice, and you can make a great old-fashioned with it as well, or choose your cocktail. Now for the details. History. The Basil Hayden family distillery began its commercial operations way back in 1840 and has been in production ever since despite multiple ownership changes. This brand and label, though, started in 1882 and it made it through Prohibition because it was allowed to keep on producing for medicinal purposes. This is consistently in the top 10 of bourbons sold in America. This bourbon has appeared in many books, novels, movies, TV shows, including John Steinbeck's Travels with Charlie in 1961, the movie Bad Santa, George Thorogood's song I Drink Alone, Lynyrd Skynyrd, Whiskey Rock-a-Roller, in the movie James Bond Live and Let Die, Bond drinks an old fashioned with Old Granddad. David McCullough, a famous historian, in his biography of President Truman, writes that the president liked Old Granddad on the rocks. On TV shows like The Mary Tyler Moore Show, The Love Boat, those are from my era, Mad Men, more recent, and then MASH, again from my era, Old Granddad makes appearances. So 5 out of 5 for history. Bottle, label, and marketing. This bottle is in the classic shape. It's got a straight neck, though, not a curvy, flared neck. Just a straight neck. And there's no embossing anywhere on the bottle. The label stands out, I think. It's got a picture of Basil Hayden Sr. there. And the orange and black color scheme with the green bonded. For whatever reason, that orange really goes well with the whiskey. I mean, the colors line up so good there. I think it looks good on the bottle. So it's a distinctive, nice looking label. I don't recall ever seeing an advertisement either in print or on TV or online for this whiskey. And after doing a YouTube search, I found a couple of advertisements that were nice, but that was it. Now, there are tons of reviews out there in the Whiskey Tube land. So for bottle, label, and marketing, 4 out of 5. And I do find this in all the liquor stores. Appearance. Well, you can see it there in the bottle. It's got almost a bronze hint of orange color, and there it is in the glass. So that appearance is a solid 3 out of 5. 3 headed to 4, I think. Composition. One source claims that the mash bill is 63 corn, 27 rye, and 10% barley. The label actually just says it's a high rye mash bill, and so, but I've seen that mash bill recipe in lots of places for this, so it's probably true, but that doesn't come straight from the old granddad people or Jim Beam. As a bottled in bond, it is at least 4 years old, and it must be 100 proof or higher, and it must be made at one distillery in one season. Other expressions come in 80 proof and 114 proof. There you go. Plus, they have just released this year the 7-year version. There you go. So we'll get to that 114 and that 7-year version later on this week, I hope. Also, online, I have seen the 16-year-old version in a very nice antique-looking bottle that's sort of in this shape, but I think it's a little bit rounder, maybe. Of course, that one's going for a couple $100, I think. And the label here on the bottle says it's distilled and bottled by the Old Granddad Distillery in Claremont, Kentucky. So for composition, 14 out of 15 points. Let's get to the nosing and the tasting. On the nose. Now I've got a terrible nose for sniffing of whiskeys. With this I get some mild sweetness, some of the spiciness. It's not a sharp sweetness, it's kind of a deeper, richer sweet. Getting a little bit of wood. Maybe some hints of the orange. Really, that's a decent nose, so 8 out of 10 for the nose. Taste. Again, you get the caramel sweetness, the corn sweetness, but the sweetness here is in a deeper, darker, richer kind of a way. This is perfect for me. I mean, this is right in my wheelhouse. There's different kinds of sweet. This is not candy sweet. This is more peanut brittle kind of a sweetness. I get the peanuts in here as well. The spiciness of the high rye. I am a rye guy. I think I prefer ryes to bourbons, actually, and that's why I like maybe high rye bourbons. There you go. But the spiciness of this high rye is magnificent. There's a little bit of wood tannins going on in there. So this is not bright and shiny at all, even though I don't think it's exceptionally old, 4 years, maybe just over 4. But this is one of my all-time favorites, for sure. Again, just a little bit of that roasted peanut thing going on there, and just the hints of the orange peel. I don't know how much of that is psychological manipulation, because I've heard people say that, and so it's like, okay, maybe that's what I'm tasting. I don't know. I think it's there. Once in a while, I do get a faint hint of ethanol, again, revealing that it's mass-produced, but that's only faint and only once in a while, so that's not a regular thing. Clearly, this is in the middle of my taste profile. 23 out of 25 points there. Mouthfeel, burn, and finish. This has a rich mouthfeel. It's befitting the bottled in bond label. The burn is there, but it's not out of balance. To me, the burn is just right. Doesn't really go up in my sinuses, doesn't really go down in the chest. It focuses in the mouth and the back of the throat. And, and so it is strong. My wife sampled, I made an old fashioned the other day, and she sampled it. She likes some old fashions a little bit, and she'll take some sips. This one at 100 proof was too strong for her. So if you're a little bit proof sensitive, this may not be the thing. But to me, for a 100 proof, it's not out of bounds with its burn. I think it's just right there. The finish is not huge. It's not hugely long. It's kind of a medium finish. And that's where I get a little bit of the orange peel and maybe a hint of wood tannins going on there. And once in a while, that's kind of where I get the ethanol also. If I linger it in my mouth a little bit, that's where I might get a little bit hint of the ethanol. But all in all, 14 out of 15 for mouthfeel, burn, and finish. This is wonderful. Neat or mixer? Now, my favorite way is neat. Okay, I tend to be a purist when it comes to my whiskeys. I tend to prefer drinking them neat. But in the last few years, I've also started making a few little cocktails here at the house, and this is fantastic in an old fashioned. I've made 2 old fashions with this in the this weekend, Labor Day weekend. And so I'm going to pause this video and go make another one. So I'll be right back. I'm back. I've made another old fashioned. So this is my 3rd old fashioned this weekend with Old Granddad. And each time I've done it a little bit different. The first time I used some maple syrup as the sweetener. The second time I used just some white sugar. I didn't much care for the white sugar one, and so I went back to the maple syrup here. But I also changed up the bitters. I used about 3 drops of Angostura bitters and then 3 drops of orange bitters. And that absolutely is a great balance here. I don't like a super sweet old fashioned, so I didn't even put, there's probably not even a teaspoon of maple syrup in here. I've got some orange peels and 2 cherries. And it's still very sweet, but the bitters tone that down. So Old Granddad Bonded absolutely works well with an old fashioned. So for neat or mixer, 5 out of 5. The only thing I haven't done is I haven't tried it with just ice. I rarely do ice. The only thing I've done with ice is like super high proof. So, well, it's super high. 114, 115, 117, somewhere in there is when I could add ice. All right, so neat or mixer, 5 points. Price, value, and availability. Total Wine has this for $20.99. Specs did not, on their website, did not have the bonded, but I have seen it there before, but it wasn't even listed. Goody Goody has this for $21.99, and I think that's where I bought this. So for a bottle and bond of this quality with these flavors, this is a very good price and a great value. I'm surprised, again, that Specs did not seem to have this one. So 9 out of 10 points for the Old Granddad Bottled and Bond. Bonus. This is one of my top favorite Kentucky Bourbons. And again, I've been through 3 or 4 bottles of this. And these BIB bottles are just amazing. And I've also been through 3 or 4 bottles of the 114. For bonus points, 5 out of 5, giving me a total score of a 90. Letter grade for drinkability, a solid A. Analysis and recommendation. This classic bourbon has deep roots in American history and pop culture, and that high rye mash bill makes it one of my absolute favorites along with its high proof. I admit that I've never even tried the 80 proof. Oh well, I likely never will. But I'm considering, because this is, in an old fashioned, this is really too strong for my wife. She might like that 80 proof, so we'll see. So I do hope to try next time the 114, give a review of this, and just today I got the 7-year bottled in bond, so we'll do a review of that. So those are coming up. Now, for those who are sensitive to the harshness of bourbon, this one may not work for you. But if you do like bourbon, but not the super sweet ones, try Old Grandad. Its versatility is amazing. All right, this is Stab the Dragon Productions on Labor Day 2025, out here.